It was supposed to be the perfect camping trip. A weekend getaway to clear my head, escape the noise of everyday life, and reconnect with nature. I had found this remote spot, miles from civilization, deep in the woods, where the only sounds were the crackling of the fire and the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. I had set up my tent by the small clearing and spent the evening fishing by the nearby creek. The sun had long since disappeared, and the stars were bright above, casting an eerie glow over the forest. It was peaceful, too peaceful maybe. I shrugged it off and stoked the campfire to keep the chill at bay. That's when I heard it. A faint shuffle, like someone walking in the woods. I froze, peering into the dark trees, but saw nothing. Probably an animal, I told myself. But then the sound came again, closer this time. I grabbed a flashlight, my heart starting to race, and shined it toward the noise. That's when I saw him. A man, ragged, unshaven, and wearing a torn coat, stood just outside the light's reach. His face was gaunt, pale, his eyes wide and unsettling, staring right at me. "Hey," he said, his voice raspy like he hadn't spoken in days. "You got any food? I haven't eaten in a while." I took a deep breath, trying not to show how nervous I was. I had read stories about people being targeted in the wilderness, but I wasn't sure what else to do. I was alone, miles away from the nearest town, and this guy looked off. His eyes never blinked, just locked on me as if he were sizing me up. Yeah, I stammered, reaching into my bag and pulling out a half-eaten granola bar. "Here, take it." He grabbed it without a word and tore into it with a hunger I'd never seen in someone's eyes. The way he ate, like an animal, made my stomach turn. I took a step back, instinctively tightening my grip on the flashlight. "Thanks," he mumbled, his voice dripping with something I couldn't quite place. Was it gratitude? Or something darker? Before I could say anything, he turned and walked off into the trees, disappearing into the night, like he hadn't been there at all. I stood frozen for a moment, confused and unsettled. Why would he be out here, in the middle of nowhere, asking for food? And why did it feel like he wasn't just leaving? I brushed it off as my mind playing tricks on me. Maybe I was overthinking things. The woods can do that to you. But as the hours dragged on and the night grew deeper, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. Around midnight, I was sitting by the fire, poking the embers, when I heard it again, the shuffle of footsteps. It was distant at first, but the noise grew louder. My heart skipped a beat. I grabbed the flashlight and scanned the trees. Nothing. Then I heard a whisper, just a faint rustling sound like someone was moving just beyond the light, too quiet to catch with the eye, but enough to make the hairs on my neck stand up. It was him, the homeless man. I didn't know how I knew, but I knew. He was out there watching me, waiting. I tried to tell myself it was just paranoia, but the feeling of being watched was overwhelming. My instincts screamed that I needed to leave, but where would I go? The nearest road was miles away, and besides, I wasn't about to leave my campfire, not in the middle of nowhere with someone lurking in the trees. Minutes passed, maybe longer. I sat there, tense, my flashlight trembling in my hand. Then from the shadows, I saw him again, just for a split second, his face pale and twisted in the moonlight, watching from behind a tree. I froze. He was closer now. Without a sound, he disappeared into the darkness again. My breath was coming in short gasps. I grabbed my bag, threw it over my shoulder, and decided I'd rather hike back to the road than stay in the camp. I couldn't take it anymore. As I turned to go, I heard something, his voice slow and gravelly, barely audible. "Don't leave, John. I'm hungry." My blood ran cold. I spun around, but there was nothing. Just the empty forest and the cold, unsettling night. I started walking quickly, but my legs felt like lead. Every step felt like someone was right behind me, just out of sight. Every crack of a twig, every whisper of the wind felt like him getting closer. And that's when I heard it, the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Closer, faster. He was following me. I broke into a run, but the sound didn't stop. It was like he was right there, just behind me, close enough to reach out and touch me. My heart pounded in my chest as I stumbled through the trees, not daring to look back. I could feel him. I could feel his eyes on me, watching my every move. I don't know how long I ran. Maybe it was hours. But I didn't stop until I reached the highway, where the distant headlights of a car finally made me feel safe. And the man was gone. But I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still out there, still watching. To this day, I never went back to that camping spot.